Oh,
Yeah, we're rolling.
yeah.
This is live.
Zoom just got serious.
Uh-huh.
Real serious. Two Jocks and a Schlub premiere episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so cool. You guys seem thrilled too. This is very typical for people who are listening in on the first time.
What's the there's like a weird buzzing sound in my headphones. Do you guys hear that?
That's all you.
You don't hear that?
No, my headphones aren't working, so
Hold on, I'm gonna unplug and plug back in.
Yeah. I'm listening in headphones and I don't hear anything. So hopefully the listeners aren't hearing anything right now.
They won't hear this. No, it must just be my headphones.
Yeah.
it's your super fine-tuned musician's ears.
Well, yeah, sure, of course. I mean, I do hear things that the average human doesn't hear.
That's
You know.
all the ego patting I'll do for tonight. You don't need.
No,
any more.
actually, in all honesty, I probably hear less in certain ways because, like, after all of the years of like professional brass playing, and also I just like listen to music really loudly, that shit does damage to your ears. So, like, I'm definitely a little bit deafer probably than the average 31-year-old. But, anyways, what are we drinking?
You got whiskey there?
I got some bourbon because I don't have any beer on me.
What?
That's a shame. That's a travesty.
I've got an IPA from King Canary Brewery. It's just outside of Charlotte here. It's a Citra Hyperfocus Double IPA. 8.2 is the alcohol content.
What a beautiful description and beautifully read. Good job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta have some sort of recurring gag or running shtick. So let's see what we can pull from the beer cellar. So this week it's toasted coconut vanilla Demogorgon. It's a stout from Streetside Brewing in Cincinnati, Ohio. Bourbon barrel aged, 15% alcohol by volume. Pours a nice heavy black, sweet coconut taste on the front. Bourbon barrel on the back. Ooh, it's
Too sweet
tonight, guys.
Well, cheers to you, boys.
What?
Is it too sweet?
That's a little sweet.
Yeah,
little sweet,
for
but
me, it
it's
would
not
probably
too
be too sweet. It'll get you fucking wasted, though, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Matt literally has a cellar full of beer. I've been there. I'm so envious of it. I just want to live there. I know Matt would let me live there.
I believe Colin's response when he saw it was he told his wife he was moving in for a week. So the offer stands.
Man, it would be so much fun. And he has the beer cellar, and then up in his living room, he has a full liquor cabinet as well. Just like everything you can think of, all right there. You never have to leave.
Honestly,
Even
this
more
actually
full
makes me-
thanks, compliments to Colin. Thank you very much. I haven't opened that Jim Beam yet, but it's tempting me right now.
See, this makes me a little worried, though. I mean, should we be bringing Matt to a certain meeting, perhaps?
Beer Enthusiast Anonymous, maybe.
Sure, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that club created by you, Matt?
We've got to meet with each other and share our brews. You got to have regular meetings. You got to make sure that you're sharing the love and trying all the new beers, right?
That's essentially like your Facebook
You got to
group.
drink them all.
Matt, yeah, like tell us a little bit how you've gotten to be the king of beers. Like how you have this huge setup, this great setup. I got to see it out in California even. Like you have everything when you fly, when you drive, like you know how to get stuff. Like tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I feel like first of all, I don't know how to explain it other than if you watch the game or if you watch South Park, there's an episode where they play Guitar Hero, and one of the games that Randy Marsh plays is Heroin Hero, and he always tries to catch the dragon. You never catch the dragon. You can never catch them all. But that terrible metaphor aside, I don't know. It just started happening in college where a couple friends and I would dabble in the fancier beers. We got a little tired of the canned yellow beer that you get in college. Just change the label. It all tastes the same.
So you moved
Key
up
Light?
to Stella Artois and Heineken,
Key Light.
upgrading.
No, I don't know what kind of fancy colleges you guys went to, but we drank stuff like Beer 30 and Pong brand beer And yeah, that's true. Look it up. There's a Pong brand beer.
Never even heard of those.
Jenny Light. Ugh.
Jenny Light, of course. Genesee, Rochester.
Yeah, and we decided to dabble in some of the finer beers out there, and one thing led to another. And before that, we were drinking fancy mixed drinks and making high class bourbon cocktails and trying all the new fancy beers that we could find. I've got friends who enabled me. I've got a couple really, really good local beer stores in Cleveland that really helped out. And before I knew it, enthusiasm turned into a never-ending hunt that to fill a void that I never will fill, but it will always try with lovely beverages. So we'll talk about it more as the podcast goes on. I don't want to make this a completely beer-themed podcast, but we can fill up some time if we have to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. There's a lot of people on here who already know us, or a lot of people listening who already know us, but there's a lot of people who don't know us. So like these first few episodes, there's going to be some introductory, some things we need to explain so people understand what we're talking about. We're literally not just rambling, even though this is a show where the content doesn't matter and the segments are made up. But
well, we'll go into the history some other time. But yeah, at one point, and Colin, you know this, you still give me a hard time every time I see you. But at one point, I thought this was going to be my profession. I did school projects based on breweries. I volunteered at Cleveland area breweries. I unsuccessfully tried to homebrew quite a bit. I think I brewed more bad batches than I brewed drinkable batches. But it was a pretty busy hobby of mine for quite a while.
Is it not an ambition anymore?
I mean, I can't see myself actually opening a brewery anytime soon, but
well, yeah, it doesn't have to be soon. I mean, could be in 5 years, 10 years.
But Matt knows from when you guys were here on Memorial Day, my neighbor Dalvin, him and we're gonna support that. And Dalvin's gonna be listening to this episode, and he's gonna point out right away that you said at one point he's gonna be like, no, this is gonna happen. That's how Dalvin is. He's gonna be like, yo, tell your friend Matt this is gonna happen.
Dalvin was great. I gotta get him some beers too. He was way too generous that day. That was fantastic.
Yeah, he was the fucking man, dude.
Yeah, always generous. Well, we're having the first birthday party for Stella later this month, and they're obviously coming over since they live right next door. So we'll make a trip down. Just saying.
Good. It's already that time. That's right.
Yeah. What is it? The 27th?
24th.
29th. We were both close. I was closer though.
Yeah.
I actually remembered something slightly better than Matt. That's a fucking miracle.
Needless to say, neither one of these guys are the godfather of my daughter, but that's okay.
Well, I would have said no because Godfather is fucking drenched in religious undertones, so fuck that.
Ooh. I just figured that, the guy who's got a beer cellar the size of a small state in his basement probably isn't necessarily Godfather material quite yet.
Nah, I love you both. You could be really great godfathers for Stella. You can fight it out with Dan. He's the actual godfather. So
that makes sense.
That's interesting that you chose Danny, though. I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised.
Over you? Is that what you're surprised about?
I mean, I don't know if you have anybody in your life really who's worthy of being a godfather. All of the important dudes in your life, like your best friends and your brothers, are pretty much a bunch of morons. So I don't know that really anybody's qualified.
I didn't know you had to be qualified to be a certain smartness to be a godfather.
A certain smartness.
Yeah. I don't know. You caught me off guard. I don't know.
I know. I got it. I have this, the buzzing is happening in my headphones still, and I'm going to try to ignore it. But occasionally I might just get really angry. And maybe this will be a recurring bit in the show is are Ethan's headphones buzzing right now, and how angry on a scale of 1 to 10 is he? Right now I'm a 7.5.
I haven't seen any finger pointing yet.
Once we get into certain topics, I'm sure it will happen.
Yeah, well, let's dive into we have a little bit of structure to this. We at least talk about some of the common things that we want to talk about, and most of it's going to be sports, beer, politics, when Ethan wants to go on his rants about religion, and who knows what else.
Billionaires.
But what I wanted to talk about today is pretty baseball centric. And as both of you know, this has been a pretty incredible season for two players in baseball. Jacob deGrom, starting pitcher for the New York Mets, and Shohei Ohtani, starting pitcher / DH / everything for the Los Angeles Angels. And I want to start by talking about deGrom because I was looking up. So earlier in the season, when sticky stuff was still a thing, Garrett Cole was also having an incredible start to the season. And we had a conversation, the three of us, about really historic seasons in baseball history when you talk about pitching. And I think we all came to the agreement that Pedro's 99 or 2000 season is probably the best of all time.
99 and 2000, I think we all agree that those two seasons, if you stretch it to 4, there's more debate, but those 2 seasons, the best 2-season run by a pitcher in history, because if you take into account the AL East, the steroid era, and how much better he was than like the rest of the entire major leagues, it's truly mind-blowing.
Right. And then we decided that we wanted to kind of stretch it out to like a 4 or 5 year run and kind of see who fit into that, because I brought up Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
And so immediately we were like, all right, same time period, pretty much. Let's start looking at the numbers and everything. And so when we looked at it, Randy's stretch was actually a little bit better than Pedro's. So I was
for 4
right.
years. Yeah, the 4 seasons. Yeah. And so I did, just to clarify for people, this was all going by Baseball Reference WAR. If we were to do fan graphs, it could change slightly. But.
Sure. Yeah. Very nerdy baseball stuff that most people won't care about. But
yep.
So the reason I wanted to bring up deGrom, though, is because I'm curious about both this season. So could this be one of the best pitching seasons of all time? But I'm also curious. I wonder if we're like undervaluing. And it's crazy to think about that because deGrom plays in New York. But are we not talking enough about how great of a pitcher deGrom has been, like year over year? Like when I feel like he's been at least as good as Kersh was in his prime, but I feel like we don't talk about him nearly as much. Am I wrong about that?
Kersh, I feel like had a little bit. Well, now you look at his stats. Kersh seemingly dominated for a longer stretch of consistent time. But I mean, I just pulled up deGrom stats, and he's still he's been in the Cy Young talk for 6 of the last 7 seasons. Like including two wins plus a Rookie of the Year. Like I don't know if he can really say that. So maybe I have to backtrack a little bit there.
Does deGrom have a Cy Young?
2.
Oh, 2.
Okay.
Oh, right. That's what he said. 2 Cy Youngs.
I'm gonna jump in because I also have. So I pulled up Baseball Reference too, and so let's just really quickly. So it's interesting, Colin. When you first said that, my gut was gonna say that yes, we aren't talking about him enough. But if you look at his Baseball Reference WAR, he had 2 years, 18 and 19, 2018 and 2019, where he was amazing. His WAR was 9.9 and 8. Other than those 2 years, though, his career high is only 5.2. And I bet if we go over to Kershaw, I bet you we see more sustained dominance in terms of, at least in terms of WAR. Let's see. I'm going to look real quick.
And while you're looking at that, I mean, deGrom is in his 30s.
Yeah, he's already 33, right. which makes this season even extra interesting that he's 33 this season. But yeah, like Kershaw, to give you an example, had a 5-year stretch from 2011 to 2015 where his WAR was 6.8, 6.4, 8.1, 7.7, 7.3. So deGrom doesn't have anything approaching that yet. He had those 2 years where he was just as good, and in the 1 year even better when he was at 9.9. And this year what he's doing is like fucking unheard of. I was just looking at those numbers. It's because I hadn't checked in a while. I'm glad that you thought of deGrom for this because I hadn't looked in a while.
His ERA is 1.08, right?
1.08 at the All-Star break in 2021. And I know that hitting is down and everything like that, but still, that's beyond the pale. Like 1.08, I mean, that's unbelievable. And also,
look at the right side of his stats. Look at everything that he's leading in right now. Yeah. Every sabermetric, every key indicator for pitching dominance he's leading in. So ERA plus, fielding independent pitching, his walks or hits per 9 innings pitched,
everything.
His hits per 9 innings.
It's unbelievable.
He's got a strikeout to walk ratio that's just through
13.27, which is again unheard of.
I mean, he is the lead in the league, and just for reference, if you look at his past Cy Young seasons, like he'll lead 2 or 3 categories those years, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, so maybe it is a combination of the sticky stuff and everyone else taking a little bit of a regression, but he is across the board leading the pack this year.
100.
Also, wasn't he one of the first ones checked for sticky stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It was pretty funny. He was good. He was good natured about it, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Clip of that.
Now, is he racking up innings? I'm relying on you guys to pull up stats and stuff because I'm doing the recording.
He's at 92. Yeah, he's at 92 right now. And just actually, since we were talking about the Kershaw comp too, he has 3 seasons where he's thrown over 200 innings. I'd have to check and see Kershaw, but like the thing that's weird with deGrom is his first season, he was already 26. So he's a real late bloomer. In his first season, he only threw 140 innings. Then he threw 191, then 148, another shortened year, and then the next 3 were the 200. So if you think about it, in terms of what we consider to be like a full season for pitchers, it's not necessarily 200 innings anymore. When we were kids, It was definitely 200 innings. Now you would probably say maybe 180, 190 would maybe be the bottom level of that. He only has 4 seasons of 190 or more innings pitched. So that's kind of interesting, the fact that he's 33, but there's only 4 years where he's thrown that many innings.
And if you take those 4 years, take his 4 best years, is he anything close to? I mean, he's not close to Kersh, so I guess he can't be that. I mean, Kersh was, I think, 33 or something. We had seen.
Oh, when we did the 4-year stretch. Yeah, when we were doing the math on that. So yeah, let me do that really quickly. So, no, he won't be even remotely close. Which is interesting. Because he has the years that he's been dominant, he's been so unbelievably dominant that you would think of it, but he just hasn't had that consistency, which is interesting.
So then how's he doing it? He's 33 years old. I mean, City Park is a somewhat pitcher's park, although they've moved the fence in a little bit in left field, as we saw when we were all there.
Left and right center, you could see all the different, it was pretty clear when we were standing there, all the different modifications they'd made there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We went his best 4-year stretch. Just to say real quick before we get more into that, best 4-year stretch was 25.5, which is very good. But all the guys that we were talking about, like the top-notch people that we ended up finding for the top 4-year stretches, they all had like 30 and more. There were several people, and that was really the next level. But in terms of how he's doing it, that's I would have guessed the sticky stuff, and so.
Right.
But it doesn't look like there's been a big drop-off in his last couple of starts. So I don't think we can necessarily say that it was the sticky stuff. So,
now his ERA has doubled, but still, I mean.
Oh, really?
He was down as low as 0.5. So, but I think that's still, that's still in the realm of unbelievably good to really, really freaking good.
Yeah, I mean, that's like video game bullshit. All of it is. I mean, 1.08, 0.5. I mean, that's.
Well, and the last stat I want to bring up, speaking of video game bullshit, he is batting 364. So he has got a batting average better than most of the New York Yankees. So
that's hilarious.
And that's not just a small sample. That's over 33 or 15 games, 33 plate appearances. So
not bad.
He's it's mostly singles, but he still knocked in 6 runs with a double. So he's doing it with the bat too.
That's pretty good.
So then what needs to happen the second half of the season for him to have what's considered the best pitching season of all time? Like, how does he get remembered having a better season than Gibson or Pedro or maybe one of those Randy Johnson years? What does he have to do? Because like right now, I don't know. Maybe it's just baseball and like where it is in the national landscape of things, but that aura doesn't feel like it's there right now.
Well, Gibson gets, Colin or Ethan, you probably know this better than me. Gibson gets thrown around because of his ERA, correct?
I think we take him out of the equation because 1968 was such an outlier of a year. His ERA was 1.12, but we know that 68 was an insane year for pitching. Denny McClain was like amazingly good, and
They won like 30 games.
Yeah, and but it wasn't just the wins. He was amazing in other ways too, and like he's not one of the greatest of all time. Like 1968, shit was weird with like how high the mound was and all of that. So for me, I take Pedro and Randy over Gibson easily, personally. Anyways, Matt, continue. Sorry.
No, I agree, but I think for the average baseball fan, that Gibson season sticks out just because of the ERA. They say, "Oh man, Bob Gibson dominated that year. He had a 1.12 ERA." Like,
sure.
No one else. I mean, hardly anyone else other than you nerds that I talk to will actually go any further into that season. They just point Gibson 68 ERA.
Yeah.
So I think deGrom really to be remembered to Colin, to your question, to be in that category has to beat the ERA number. I think he has to be a sub-1 ERA to finish the season for people to say that's one of the most dominant seasons ever. Regardless, that's just public perception. I think Ethan's right. You got to look at everything else and compare with Randy and Pedro to actually get a holistic view. But in terms of the aura surrounding the sport, I think he's got to have one sideways record-setting stat line.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, I sorry, Ethan, but
no, Kyle,
that's what I'm most interested in. I guess even excited. Like, if he continues to keep the ERA that low, like I know ERA isn't everything, but there's just something cool about that, and it says a lot. It doesn't say everything, but it says an awful lot about how good you are as a pitcher.
Well, for me, what's most important about all that Matt just said is that in terms of public perception, because I do think that, yeah, your general average baseball fan, they still rely on those big obvious stats that we grew up with, right? Mm-hmm. So for hitters, that's batting average, homers, and RBIs, and for pitchers, that's wins, losses, and ERA. There are still a lot of people who rely on those numbers and don't think about like the sabermetrics the way that we do, and many fans do nowadays, but there are still plenty who don't. And so I think for deGrom, a lot of people are going to be looking just at that ERA number. Whereas for me, I'm looking at ERA plus, because ERA plus is telling you based on what the rest of the league did, how do you compare to the rest of the league? So that's much more accurate in terms of the context of that season, right? And so what's interesting about that, because I just looked up a couple things, so I'll just throw this out there. Gibson's ERA plus in 1968 was like 258, which is amazing. Pedro's in 1999 and 2000 were 243 and 291, respectively. So actually really close, except for, 291 is a good bit ahead. And then, so here's what's ridiculous, and I don't think there's any chance this lasts, personally. I'm going to go ahead and be skeptical here. deGrom's right now, his ERA plus is 363. I don't think there's any chance in hell that lasts. If it did, that would be awesome, but I don't think that lasts. But I do think that Matt is right. I think if that ERA number stays crazy low, I think people will be like, oh my God, this is one of the best seasons ever. But also, right now he has 146 strikeouts and 11 walks, which is fucking mind-boggling. So if the strikeout to walk ratio also stays like that good, like right now it's like 13, like 13.27 or something. If it stays close to that, then that's another, I think, marker that's easy for people to kind of lock into, like, oh my God, he struck out that many people and he only walked that many people.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Now, before we get too far in, I guess for our listeners, we're going to talk a lot about sabermetrics. But to your guys' point, that's not necessarily the toolbox of a lot of traditional or casual baseball fans. So my question to you guys, John Cernelia and Jim Ertz, are they sabermetrics guys?
That's a great question.
Because
my dad loves Billy Martin still.
Listeners, this is Colin and Ethan's dads. I'll tell you, John Root, my dad, he's getting there. I mean, just the last time I was home, we started really talking about OPS a lot as looking at on-base percentage plus slugging is kind of a better metric to determine someone's offensive prowess. So
way better.
Getting there for someone who's a traditional baseball fan. But I'm curious about your guys' dads.
Kyle, go ahead. You said no way. Your dad's a Billy Martin fan.
No way. Yeah. No way. So he gets mad. He gets mad every time Judge and Glaber and all them take a day off, and I'm like, sorry, Dad. I know you're listening to this, but it's not 1970 anymore.
Yeah, and my dad, it's interesting with my dad. I don't think he actually cares about stats in general all that much. Even the traditional stats, I don't think he ever cared all that much. Like when we talk about baseball, he doesn't really ever reference numbers. I will occasionally, but for him, it's more just about like what game or games he watched recently, and like, oh, this guy was looking really good, or this guy looked like shit, and that's it. Just like based on him watching the most recent games. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's pretty traditional, I would say.
Yeah, I think my dad's a lot like that too, and he always likes to pull. My Yankees would have never done like he. I'm surprised I didn't get the
That's
text
right.
on Sunday night. My Yankees wouldn't have blown a 5-run lead in Houston. Blah 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 and
I'm
everything.
surprised you didn't get that. Yeah, he loves
Yeah.
sending those texts.
Oh yeah. His favorite. He did do it the one time Chappie had the meltdown recently, and I sent you guys. I was like, oh, here's the Billy Martin thing again.
Yeah. I mean, this one was worse. Fucking up by 5 runs in the ninth, and then in Green, who's amazing, just fucking imploded. Like what, you know?
I will say I don't want to talk too much about it because it's super depressing, but I think I'm in the minority right now because I briefly saw. I told Matt I've been on a Twitter break for the last 3 days since that implosion happened, and I've seen like right before I went on the break, I saw a lot of people saying like we can't wait to play Houston in the playoffs. Blah blah blah. I want nothing to do with the Astros in the playoffs. That place is a fucking house of horrors. Like, get me out of Houston. Any way we can avoid them. If we can make the playoffs and somehow get to the World Series and we don't have to play Houston, I am all for that.
Hey, it's a great place to see a game. I will say that. But
Is it? Okay.
but when I was down there and I think it was 2015. I don't think it was trash can era quite yet. But yeah, I'd prefer just to avoid that whole barrel of monkeys and just be, you know, following another path to the World Series would be phenomenal. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, they're like in between our dominance of the Twins in the playoffs and then like the slight dominance the Angels used to have over us in the playoffs.
Don't bring up those days. Oh.
Okay.
But
right.
like I think it's in between that.
I got 2 things. Number 1, I disagree with you guys. I want the Astros and I want to fucking pummel them. That's the first thing because we need to make a statement. I want to beat the shit out of them.
Make a statement by winning the World Series.
Make a statement by pummeling the fucking Astros because they're a bunch of D-bags. Okay. Number 2, this is a bit of a non sequitur. I'm gonna go. We can come back to this, but I just randomly was thinking, and I'm wondering. I don't know that you guys would know this off the top of your head. So the Yankees are in 4th place in the division, and they're 46 and 43, 3 games above 500. What I'm wondering is, when was the last time during our lifetimes, we were all born in 1989, when was the last time in our lifetimes that either of those things happened at the All-Star break? That at the All-Star break, the Yankees were either 3 games above 500, only 3 games above 500, or in 4th place, or in 4th place in the division. Either one of those things. When was the last time that either of those happened?
Pre-1993.
Gotta be, right? Even in 2000 was kind of a mediocre year. I think we only won like 89 games, but
they lost like 15 out of 18 in September.
What about the lean years, the 2012 to 2015 years?
Maybe.
Maybe. I wonder. Hold on.
Doug Mankiewicz at first base years, you know.
Doug Mankiewicz and
Reed Brignac.
Reed Brignac. Yeah, because that was when. So these years, these were the best. This is when Colin and I were living together. We lived together for 2 years, right? From 2013 to 2015.
Yep.
And those were the prime
years.
fucking years of the Yankees roster, where it was just unbelievable. Every night we'd be like watching the game, we'd be like, "Where did this guy come from? What the fuck is happening right now?" It was amazing.
Yeah, much worse than it is today. Even though Yankee fans of Twitter who were born 3 days ago will tell you that this is terrible.
Right. Oh my god, I'm gonna try and see if I can. Let's keep talking about other stuff, but I'm curious about this All-Star break thing. I'm gonna see if there's a way. To find that.
I'll let you go down that rabbit hole because now I'm gonna razzle you and Colin about not at least watching some. I mean,
whoa!
The All-Star game. You didn't want to see the All-Star game?
I was teaching. I have a job.
Yeah.
We all have jobs.
Yeah, but I teach in the evening. I teach music lessons. That shit happens later in the day usually. It's not a normal 9 to 5.
Ethan, music never sleeps, Ethan.
That's true. Music does never sleep. I actually do kind of I am kind of sad that I missed it. I might see if there are any clips or anything available because it would have been fun. I mean, there are one thing I'll say for baseball, and we haven't talked about this maybe quite as much, us three, but like Joe Paz and Mike Schur talk about this all the time. So baseball has a ton of trouble sort of marketing itself, right? And among like the really big sports in this country, say really you would probably just say baseball, basketball, football at this point. Baseball's not on the same level in terms of popularity as basketball and football. And there are lots of reasons for that. I think part of it has to do with like marketing and things like that. And just a lot of it has to do with the nature of the game. But one of the things that's really cool right now is even if the marketing isn't that good or whatever, and even if people don't realize it, baseball right now is like as exciting as it's ever been in our lifetimes in terms of the level of play, the talent that we have. And obviously we're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani at some point. And then obviously we were just talking about deGrom. And then you look at like the All-Star game and you look at like Vladdy Guerrero Jr. and Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, we have so many like really, really exciting young baseball is in a great spot in terms of that. And of course we aren't even talking about Mike Trout because he's hurt, but I mean, he's literally the present day Willie Mays and could go down as the greatest player of all time. And that's like not an exaggeration. So it's like baseball's in kind of a cool spot.
Well, and to that point, Ethan, I mean, during the All-Star game, they do a lot of stuff that I really wish they would implement more of. I mean, you know, you've got your traditionalists who hate any sort of change to the game, but then you've got, you know, the let them play era. So I mean, they had lots of guys last night mic'd up who were, I mean, you know, it was crazy to talk to Fernando Tatis Jr. as he's standing in the box and they're going, "Hey, what do you expect coming down? And what are you looking for first pitch? Fastball. Oh, there's a fastball." Like, you know, to hear him joke around with players in the field, to hear Freddie Freeman was a lot of fun. Future Yankee, by the way, future Yankee, Freddie Freeman. To hear him joke when they walked Aaron Judge and him go, "Ah, crap, I'm going to look tiny next to him. Yeah. I'm 6'5", but he's going to make me look tiny."
That was funny. I saw that.
You know, they're joking at first base, and then of course Joe Buck tells Freddie Freeman to let Aaron Judge know he's mic'd up, and Aaron Judge shuts up and stops talking. So, you know, it was fun. Or even to see and the infielders joke around with the umpires. You know, you get to see the different side of the umpires, the relationship they have with the umpires instead of the endless, you know, confrontational relationship you see at home plate. You get to see them instead in the field, joking around and having fun and calling the umps by their first names and having a good time. Or, you know, I think they told Tatis to yell at Guerrero as he was rounding the bases from his home run. That, you know, that just brings a lot more joy to the game. I don't think that would be implemented year round. But if we could do something like that, I mean, heck, they'll mic up, you know, offensive linemen in the NFL. Why can't they do something similar more often during games in the regular season in the major leagues? I enjoyed that.
Yeah, 100%. And then and just a quick interjection, and then we go back to that. So the little thingy that I mentioned earlier about like at the All-Star break, the Yankees, their record and their place in the division. Matt, you were right. I apparently was just blocking out those horrible years in my mind. 2016, we don't even have to go that far back. 2016, wow. They were 44-44 at the All-Star break, straight 500, and they were in fourth place. So we don't actually have to go that far back.
#valedict.
#valedict.
Anytime I correct you guys or sound smart, we'll say that.
First time.
Yeah.
First of many.
I think it's happened very few times since 1994, but and it doesn't seem like it. And because I think we are spoiled and we block those years out. But you're right, Matt. And if I go, I am going to check because I'm curious. I'm going to go and look at a couple of those other years. But happened in 2016. So there you go.
We're spoiled as crap, which is
Yeah.
Living 10 years in a championship-starved city like Cleveland really puts things in perspective. Where every year they're like, "Oh man, it's the draft. We're gonna see who we get," and it's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Like we've never missed the playoffs, you know, or we've only missed the playoffs in 6 years since I've been born, or something like that. You know, just kind of crazy.
True. And that's the thing. You know, Colin was talking about all those 3-day-old Yankee Twitter fans who are fucking idiots. Like, that's the thing that they need to also realize is being a Yankee fan in the 21st century. Even if we haven't won that many actual championships in the 21st century, just the overall consistent winning is like pretty incredible.
Yeah. Thanks for the book plug, by the way. All right, real quick. I'm going to do, we got to read from our featured sponsor, Protagonist.
Oh, do it.
Down here.
Hell yeah.
In Charlotte. They got a few events coming up this weekend. The first is a David Hasselhoff birthday beach bash.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's on Saturday, July 17th, 1 o'clock. There's outdoor games, beach bar, free swag. Wow, I'm probably going to go to that then. Small cakes, food truck, music by Kickback. Looks like a good time. And then the following Saturday, they have the first annual cornhole tournament. And if you go to their website, it looks like there is a QR code where you can scan, sign up right there. That starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday, July 24th. And get this, $500 grand prize. So,
Ooh, damn.
Yeah, good money coming out at Protagonist Brewery. And
Nice.
we're super happy and excited and thankful, grateful, all those words about this partnership. And we'll have more great things to share about that in the future, and probably some beer to taste too along the way. But that was the feature read for our first podcast episode.
Very nice. Fuck yeah. Protagonist Brewing. Love it.
Yeah, once I practice up, I'll whip out the commercial voice sometime soon in the future, and we can I can talk up Protagonist Brewing. I'm definitely looking towards getting out there next time I'm down in Charlotte to see you, Colin. Definitely want to, that Ben Wyatt calzone just sounds delicious. I think.
Oh, that's right. They had a bunch of parks. I remember looking at the website.
Yeah.
Parks. Dude, okay, they've already endeared themselves to me with the parks references. That's awesome.
Yeah, great place.
Actually, I was even before that. Do you guys ever seen Dr. Stephen Brule?
Oh yeah. The
John C. Reilly character. Dr. Steve Brule. They've got a Dr. Stephen Brule pizza. I think I got to try one of these days.
Nice.
Yeah. Into pizza, I kid you not. So we went there a couple weeks ago, and it was like the size of an actual plate. Like the entire pizza covered the plate. One slice. I was like,
that's how you do it.
Give it to me. I got the Kevin McAllister, the plain cheese pizza, but
plain cheese pizza. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Dude, there are a lot of people.
Time with Toddy over the years. Jesus,
she doesn't even eat cheese. Come on.
Wait, she didn't have any cheese at all? Doesn't she put cheese on her nachos and shit?
Well, yeah, but that's different cheese. That's cheddar. She doesn't like mozzarella.
Wait, what?
Ugh.
Yeah,
she's a psycho.
I always get double cheese. Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh man, I mean that's one thing we did miss out on our gallivanting trips to New York City is we never got like true street corner made 5 feet from the sewer gutter rat infested New York style big as your face pizza. I'll tell you, I mean, there's a couple other times I've been to New York City. It hits the spot and it's literally as big as your face, which for me it's about average size slice. It'll fill me up maybe. So
Well, when the Yankees make the World Series, we're going back. Like we have to go as a crew. Like especially knowing that it's been 11 years now since the last one. So who knows when the next one's coming? We got to go to at least one game.
Yeah, we do. I would shout out Big Money. We got to see them in the World Series once in our lives.
Yeah.
Speaking of Yankees events though, and kind of one-time deals, have you guys heard anything about the Field of Dreams game yet? I mean,
I forgot all about that.
They started pumping up the ads during the All-Star game for it, but I still haven't heard anything about tickets, which I don't think I've got a shot. But you better know that if I do get through and I can secure 3 of those 8,000 seats, we're going.
Yep, I'm available that weekend.
It's in Iowa, right? Like
it's in Iowa.
Yeah.
Thursday, the 11th or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, it's during the week? I thought it was on the weekend.
No, it's Thursday, and they've got an off day on Friday just in case it's rained out. Thursday the 12th, excuse me. So
yeah, smart.
Friday the 13th could be the makeup day for
scary.
Dyersville, Iowa.
Might see the ghost of Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Oh.
That movie was on.
If you guys haven't checked it out, same to all the listeners. Definitely go on and look at the website and look at the setup. I mean, to actually get to the field they plan on having you walk through the cornfield, through the outfield of the existing Field of Dreams field. You will walk through the corn to get to the new stadium. And the outfield fence, aside from the batter's eye, I believe is going to be clear, or at least have some sort of see-through component. So it looks like the outfielders are actually standing out in a cornfield.
Sweet.
Now, when they get all the safety equipment up in there and the padding and all that, I don't know how actually authentic it's going to look like you're in a cornfield, but it sounds like they're trying to make a pretty cool effect there. So that, I mean, it does sound special.
That's cool.
Can't they just set up like a?
If we were in contention in the division this year, but maybe by then we will be.
Yeah, by August 12th. Come on, go on a run. I mean, if they didn't lose on Sunday, they would have had a great road trip. But instead, they just had a good one, and we'll move on from it. But moving on to talk about Shohei Ohtani, who I definitely want to talk about. I get the Ruth comparisons, and I'm not that type of person who's like, well, Ruth didn't really, pitch when he started hitting and everything. But I just think Ohtani is so fun. And again, I get annoyed with Yankee fans who are like, yeah, Cashman couldn't get him. I'm like, dude, he said he wasn't coming to New York.
He wanted to be on the West Coast. We found out about that after the fact.
Yeah. And so again, those 3-day-old Yankee fans, you're wrong. Go back to Twitter, scream into the Twitterverse.
Yep.
But I just like when he was in the home run derby, every time he would miss a ball, his head would snap back. He was laughing. He's like having a good time. And then, yesterday I saw him pitch in the All-Star game, and then I watched that start when they crushed him. That was the Billy Martin when my dad sent me the text when we scored like 7 runs off Ohtani and then lost the game late on with Chappie pitching, I think. And I don't know. I love Trout, obviously. I love Aaron Judge. I love like the traditional baseball players, but I'm really excited to see like if Ohtani really will start this like new wave of two-way players that are legitimate. And I know like the one caveat I'll throw into this, and then I'll let you guys talk, is like everyone is going crazy, and rightfully so, because he's having an incredible year. But please, let's not forget the fact that he's barely played his first 2 seasons in baseball, in Major League Baseball, because he was injured. And so, like, again, those 3-day-old Yankee fans who are like, Giancarlo Stanton always gets hurt. And I'm like, I think they've probably played a similar amount of games at this point. I think Stanton's probably played more since he came over to New York. So, I don't know. I think it would be really cool to see two-way players, maybe not necessarily pitchers and hitters, but I don't know. Do you guys get like the same good feelings about all that I do, I guess?
Ethan, nothing? Okay.
No, I was going to let you go first.
Well, I want to, I mean, I'll say a pet peeve of mine is the comparisons to Babe Ruth, because I don't think he's nothing like it. He's something completely different, and we got to stop, putting him up against an old white guy.
Well, can I just say one thing really quick? Given how different the game was, and just letting Ruth be Ruth in his time period, I'm pretty sure Ruth could have done it if he was given, the same kind of rope that Ohtani is. But the Yankees and even the Red Sox toward the end of his career in Boston, they didn't want him to pitch anymore. So if they had said, okay, we want you to pitch, I think he could have done it. So I don't want to like totally discount Ruth and say that he couldn't have done it. But obviously he didn't do it to the extent that Ohtani's done it so far this season.
I'll say Ohtani, he gives me it gives me joy to watch him. I really, really just like seeing his energy. They kept saying his aura throughout All-Star Weekend, his aura, but I mean, he, just the smile on his face, the effortless interactions with the media, both a very, very engaged Japanese media market plus the United States market. I mean, I'd say 50% of all the home run derby and All-Star game advertising material was focused around Ohtani. So for him to step in that role seamlessly is very impressive. I mean, heck, even every other person they interviewed, when they're interviewing Tatis, they're saying, well, how does it feel to share the field with Shohei Ohtani? Like, I mean, everything was revolving around him. And to see his reaction, he's not asking for this, but to see him embrace this was really nice to see. I will say one other thing, one quick hot take. I want to say fuck Stephen A. Smith because I really, really was bothered by those comments. I hope there's some sort of repercussions.
What did he say? I didn't hear anything about this.
Interpreter for his comments. It didn't diminish from the interview he did later in the game. And for Stephen A. Smith to specifically call that out against Ohtani, when you've got a number of other stars like Ronald Acuna who have English as their second language as well, it's just, to me, a little bit xenophobic. I just think that's racist or discriminatory. I think it's a shame.
Wait, what happened? Was he was bitching about how Ohtani has an interpreter?
He said it was hard to see Ohtani as the face of baseball right now when everything he has to say has to be filtered through an interpreter. And I think that's he's paid to be outrageous.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Crazy opinions, but I just, that really did not sit well with me. Whether it's Ohtani or a star, one of the budding stars in the league that's a primary Spanish speaker, that bothered me quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't even know about this, but I would say that Stephen A. he gets paid to say inflammatory things, so like that's totally in line, and I disagree, but I can see why he would say that, and that's kind of expected from him. I will say quickly that we were talking. Colin had mentioned the comp of like injuries, right, with Shohei and Giancarlo. So Shohei made his debut in 2018. Between 2018 and 2021, Ohtani played 338 games and Stanton played 268. So a decent difference there. Not huge, but decent. I just figured I'd throw that out there because I was curious once we were talking about it. But in terms of Shohei, just like my basic reactions, I mean, it's fucking amazing and it's so wonderful for baseball. And the thing with like the Babe Ruth comps is I totally understand it because there's literally nobody else in baseball history that you can do it with, and he's the only one. So I understand that, but at the same time, we should let that go because, as Matt sort of briefly kind of was alluding to, baseball was just so different back then. I mean, we're talking about only white guys. We're talking about no flying. I mean, you were only playing on like the eastern half of the country and you were taking trains. There weren't night games for a lot of his career. The game was just so different. The athletes were nothing close to what they are now. I mean, a mediocre pitcher nowadays would probably be able to dominate Babe Ruth. A lot of traditional fans would get really upset at hearing that, but like, it's the fucking truth. The athletes today, it's a different world compared to like the 1920s and 30s. So I feel like, the Babe Ruth comp can be fun a little bit, but also let it go. The game is so different. What Shohei is doing is fucking miraculous. The fact that the playing level, the overall skill level of these people is the highest it's ever been, and the fact that he is like top tier as a hitter and a pitcher, when it's so unbelievably difficult to be top tier at either of those, let alone both. I mean, it truly boggles the mind what he's doing. And like what Matt was saying, he is super fun to watch. I mean, I see the highlights, like the MLB Instagram will like post highlights of him all the time. His home runs are just beautiful to watch. I mean, his swing is beautiful. He hits these fucking, these bombs, these moonshots, kind of like Judge and Stanton, but he's not as big as them. But they're really, really impressive homers.
He's still pretty big, but
he is big. He is big. Actually, now I'm thinking about it because he is tall. What is he?
He's probably like 6'4", 6'5".
6'4", 210. So he's tall, but he's not as jacked as
4 inches.
Yeah. But in any case, what a joy. I mean, what a joy to have in baseball. And my biggest hope is that he stays healthy because that has been the thing. Like with Trouty, he was healthy for those first like 7 years, but now in the last whatever it's been 3-4 years, he's had a couple bad injuries, and we're being deprived of this guy who might be the greatest player of all time, and that just sucks. That's just sad as a baseball fan. So I'm hoping Ohtani stays healthy. That's my biggest thing.
Don't forget though that Trout still has in his career so far is still better than a lot of Hall of Famers.
Oh my
So,
God, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. His first 10 years of his career are like the best ever, or whatever, however many. Wait, how many full seasons? 1, 2, 3, 4,
2012.
5, 6. Okay, so actually, he's really only got like 7 full seasons. 2017 was 114 games, which to me doesn't quite count as full because he was hurt. So 7 full seasons, and he's done what he's done. Oh my God. Well, we can talk about Trout another time, because if we start talking about Trout, that'll take way too long.
yeah, that's a whole nother 3-part episode.
That's a whole other thing. We should talk about Trout. Actually, I think the Pozcast. I was talking about Joe Paz and Mike Schur earlier, obviously, and you guys know that I worship them. They actually, before Trout got hurt, I think they even introduced like a Mike Trout appreciation segment.
Yeah, they did.
Which I thought was just hilarious and brilliant. Because of course, before he got hurt this season, he was even better than he's been in his whole career, which is like, how do you do that? But yeah, I get too excited about Trout. We got to save that for next time.
Yeah. Well, what excites me the most, because I think this is really good for baseball to have, like, nothing against Willie Mays, who I think all three of us would agree is the best baseball player of all time.
Yeah.
Although Trout has the ability to be the best, but the aura of the Babe is what carried this sport for so long, and for some people still carries it. And I think having a GOAT conversation between Ohtani and the Babe for the next 5-6 years will be really beneficial for baseball. Like, think about the LeBron and Michael Jordan things, and it's the same thing. Like, even though the time difference is a lot shorter, Michael Jordan played in a completely different era of basketball than LeBron James does. Yet people all the time are having those GOAT conversations, but it's really good for the game of basketball. And I think there's just something about Ohtani being compared to the Babe that can elevate the game more than Mike Trout potentially overtaking Willie Mays as the best player of all time. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, and Matt, just real quickly, GOAT is an acronym. It means greatest of all time. So, just so you know. That face. No, Matt, you go ahead and if you have a response, go first. That was really interesting, Kyle.
Well, the one thing I'll say is I'm hearing your buzzing, Ethan. So maybe you're not insane.
You're hearing it now?
Yeah. But no, I think it's good. I'm close to the LeBron discussion because I lived in Cleveland for 10 years. Yeah, I think this is great for the game. Even if Ohtani is a flash in the pan and becomes an average hitter and an average pitcher for the next 5 years, I still think that's incredible. You hear him a lot of the time last night that I think Joe Buck brought up 3 or 4 times that he devotes a lot of his time still to hitting. Imagine if he could focus on one discipline or the other. What effect would that have on his game? If he could focus on resting for the 4 days in between every start and really again staying fresh and working on his mechanics and honing in on his next upcoming opponents, how much better would he be there? It's awesome to hear. It's also fun to watch during the All-Star game, during the home run derby. I mean, that first round, he did have to go into the swing off, but he was gassed. And you hear some crazy facts. They got through his interpreter. He doesn't take batting practice. He does cage work a little bit at a time this year, and avoids batting practice to keep himself fresh. So you see someone like Pete Alonso up there who's just mashing taters, to borrow some Jim Thome lingo. Alonso's up there mashing taters and then just super intense and ready to dominate. And Ohtani's up there hitting the crap out of the ball as well, but he was gassed by the end of that first round. And he was unfortunate to run into a Juan Soto that really kind of found his groove. The other kind of interesting thing from the home run derby is they talked a lot about how right-handed batters had a little bit of an advantage, and unfortunately Ohtani fell victim to some of the left-handed curse there as well. But it was still fun to watch. It was still fun to root for him. It was the most invested I've been in a home run derby since Judge and Sanchez were battling a couple of years ago. But even before that, it's more of an oddity to me than something I tune in that's a must watch. And this year I really was enjoying it. I will say I almost did contact you guys before and ask. I was going to throw out there who's going to win and who's going to hit the longest home run. My choice was going to be Alonso, but it's easy to say that after the fact. But he was really intense. I mean, even the announcers were talking about how he was really taking things serious. He really wanted to repeat, whereas everyone else is there joking around, having fun. But it was a good night. But
who
I
hit
digress.
the longest homer?
What?
Who hit the longest one? Do we know?
The one I'm remembering was actually Trevor Story, but there must have been one longer. Trevor Story hit a 518 footer, I think.
Oh, well, that's insanely long. So
yeah, especially since most of his homers were kind of short. But this year for the bonus segment, they actually set it at 475 instead of 450. So you had to hit a 475 footer because of the atmospheric course to get your extra 30 seconds. Everyone I watched, and I watched about 3/4 of it, everyone I watched achieved that. But at first it looked like Story was going to be outclassed, but he from the right side of the plate just started pulling everything. And also shout out to Trey Mancini. Also great story to see him come back and see him win his opening round by one homer as well. With the beating cancer and coming back from that, and having him talk about how it was his dream to be there, and it was his dream to participate in this, and to see him get the opportunity, especially after the battle with cancer he had last year, that was really encouraging to see as well. So I was glad he had some success there. He definitely proved that he wasn't just there for the sentimental sob story. He did advance to the second round and had a really good showing. So it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll just add that because what Colin had said about like Shohei and Babe and all of that, just real quickly to bring it back to that. I actually hadn't really thought of it that way. I had thought of it as being like, okay, this is going to get really old really quickly. But now that you kind of said that, I actually think that you're right. And I think that those constant Babe comparisons will just have more people talking about him and just talking about baseball in general. And hopefully that will like drum up excitement and admiration for the current game. And because you're right, it's funny that Babe played his last game, I think, in 1935. So it's been, we're literally coming up on 100 years. We're not that far from 100 years since he last played a game, and he still hovers over baseball like this huge almighty god. He's like Zeus. He's like the god of gods still after all this time. And actually, and that reminds me, I was going to say, Alex Rodriguez, obviously a polarizing figure. I'm an A-Rod fan. Colin's an A-Rod fan. Matt, I don't know. But A-Rod, I remember reading this a few years ago, and he's not that old. He's only a little older than us. But he's like that same way. He worships the Babe, and what he does is anytime he's learning about a new field, whether it's in business or sports or anything, he'll always ask somebody from that field, like, who's the Babe Ruth of your field? Like, he uses Babe Ruth as like the benchmark of who's the best at what what you do. And I think that he's not alone in that. I think a lot of people still view Babe Ruth, rightfully or not, as like the benchmark for baseball excellence.
Who's the Babe Ruth of Jennifer Lopez love interests? Because it's not A-Rod.
It is A-Rod. A-Rod and J.Lo were an amazing couple. They need to get back together.
Little pop culture zinger right there. I'm hip. I follow the Instagrams.
J-Rod, A-Lo. I love those guys. I wish they would get back together.
She's back in Ben Affleck's arms.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're back together.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh,
yeah.
My God. Celebrity love lives, dude. Holy shit. Fucking wild. But that is not what this podcast is about, because I would rather hang myself than have a podcast about celebrity love lives.
Oh, I'm going to pepper in the pop culture references.
The occasional one is fine.
I got to make you guys cosmopolitan at least a little bit. I mean, I'm the one that's given these updates. That's a problem
that is a problem because you're just in a fucking dirt factory.
Hey, we'll go into that
12 hours a day. So
bagging dirt.
bagging dirt. And if you know the pop culture over us, that is a bad sign. Jeez.
Well, hey, speaking of pop culture, I did, Colin, if you don't mind me steering the direction a little bit,
It's all
I
you.
wanted to ask if there's anything coming up that you guys are excited about, or anything that you've seen in the media that's got you excited. The one thing I wanted to call out, the Foo Fighters are releasing disco covers. They're covering the Bee Gees and releasing it for Record Store Day this weekend.
Oh,
Anyone
holy
else
shit.
pumped for Record Store Day?
Record Store Day is awesome.
Just me? No, Ethan. Okay, good.
Record Store Day is amazing.
What else did I see that kind of blew my mind? Oh, one of the Jenner kids is going to start their own brand at age 3. I thought that was a little interesting.
We live in the bad place. We live in an apocalyptic hellscape. That's what that means.
For the listeners, Ethan just had like a visceral reaction where he just had to turn away from the camera, and I don't know if that was a laugh or a convulsion, but
it was a convulsion. Yeah.
I bring this up in jest because I feel the same way. But I mean, more power to them. Make that money if you want to make that money. But
fucking gross.
I can tell you when I was 3, I had no idea what a brand was. I was more interested in what cereal I was going to eat that day and what Matchbox toys I was going to play with. So if that's where they are, cool. But well, man, what else is the big pop culture things going on right now? I know concerts are starting up again. TV shows are starting up again.
We got Elton John coming here to Charlotte.
Elton John, he's still
Elton
touring,
John.
huh?
Elton John, yeah, he's coming to Syracuse too. He's playing the Dome.
The Dome.
Elton John, Ethan, and I are seeing Trampled by Turtles later this year.
Wait, where are you seeing TBT?
In
DC.
DC.
When?
In October.
What?
What do you mean?
It's
what?
on the text chain.
Yeah,
it's out there.
Is that the? No, I thought there was something with the Oriole game or.
Oh
whatever.
yeah, I mean we're gonna.
Oh,
do
that's
that.
the Avett Brothers. Yeah, we're gonna see the Avett Brothers.
Oh, the Avett Brothers is at an Orioles game. Yeah. We're gonna do that too.
Yeah, Colin, you and Tony should come up for that.
I must have been doing dad stuff because I have no, and we're trying to get TBT to be our sponsor for our intro music.
Well, the trampled thing that happened a while ago because they announced their tour. This is probably a couple months ago now.
March, April,
yeah. But like as soon as they announced their tour, me and Matt texted and I bought the tickets like immediately when they were available. So yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Colin, it's a Thursday night game, but if you want to come up to the Yankees Orioles with the Avett Brothers post game, I've got 2 spare tickets.
Yeah, that one I might. Right now I'm out because that might be Danny's bachelor party. But
that's right.
Yeah,
my friend Ben, which Ben, if you ever listen to this podcast, I'm so pissed at you, but I'm so proud of you. He's moving to Madison, Wisconsin. So
isn't he the one you were going to introduce me to? Who lives in Baltimore?
Yeah. His girlfriend, his longtime girlfriend, just got a job with University of Madison, Wisconsin. So
okay, but are they sure they want to move to Wisconsin, where like Ron Johnson is a senator and what's his face was a governor? That piece of shit whose name I can't even remember. Scott Walker.
Yeah, I got you.
You really want to live in a state that voted for those people? I mean,
hey, Madison is a really fucking cool.
I've
city.
Heard Madison is cool. I've heard
Madison's awesome.
Cool.
It's that oasis in a wasteland type feel. Right. But
yeah.
We play Wisconsin. We play Wisconsin week 1 in Madison. I'm not thrilled about it because Penn State needs to get off to a hot start this year.
Oh, Penn State.
Jump around.
I can't believe Penn State didn't come up until now. How long have we been going? Penn State just came up for the first time. That's kind of shocking to me.
First of many times.
By the way, Happy Valley, it's not a valley and the stadium's on top of a hill, and it was not all that happy.
Well, that's like, Matt is pulling a Voltaire right now because Voltaire famously said that the Holy Roman Empire is neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. So Matt is being a Voltaire about Happy Valley, which he's correct. I'm fine with that.
If you want to keep comparing me to what Voltaire's Enlightenment era philosophers, I'm happy to be that guy.
Sure, of course.
A couple steps away from being the next Zeus, the next Babe Ruth.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
God of gods. Thank you.
Let me just say, I'll say really quickly because I actually do care about this. So I'm gonna talk about this now. About this whole like stuff that's coming up in life and pop culture and whatnot. And Matt briefly mentioned this about concerts coming back. Now, obviously, anybody who knows me knows that I'm a professional musician and teacher, and music dominates my life. It has forever. Like, music is always going on in my head. I'm always listening. I'm always playing, whatever, going on constantly. COVID, of course, has been extraordinarily difficult for musicians all over the world. I'm fortunate enough that I was able to keep teaching throughout it. But for those people who rely purely on live performances, they were kind of fucked. And of course, if you live in America, a country that, you know, doesn't give a shit about its citizens, you're doubly fucked. So all I want to say,
half our listeners right there.
oh, I don't give a shit. You want to talk about America? I'll go on a fucking America rant.
Keep going.
All right. I'm almost getting fired up. Okay, but no, I'll stick to music because this is more positive. All I'll say is that yes, live concerts are coming back, and I just want people to sort of consider this, okay? When we talk about just basic society in America, right? And we talk about schools and we talk about education and what our kids are learning. The first thing, whenever a public school has to cut its budget, the first stuff that goes is music and art and maybe PE. Obviously things that are all dear to our hearts. And I would say that even above PE, I would say that music and art are valued less by the general public in that context. But when it comes to actual life, every person that I've ever met relies completely on art in their life. Okay, whether it's music, whether it's TV shows, whether it's movies, books, poetry, any of that. This is all art. This is all reliant on creators who need to be paid for their work, right? And people love to talk about math and science are the most important, or music, art, who cares? Or those guys, they're getting paid way too much they're just having fun. They're just playing their instrument, blah, 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 blah. Number one, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. Number two, recognize the fact that every single human being depends on art for happiness. And so all of this to say that the fact that all of this stuff is coming back in our lives, take advantage of it, do it, pay people, pay for their art. Don't just stream on Spotify where these artists are getting 0.0001 cents per stream. Buy their fucking merch, buy hard copies of their albums, go to concerts, support artists. Because without art of any of those kinds, what the fuck are you doing? What do you even care? Who cares? Go jump off a cliff if you don't have any of that. So
well, and to fill Ethan's not the only professional musician in his family. He's got a younger brother who's a frontman for a group called Voices in Vain that I'll give a plug to too, guys.
Nice.
Check him out if you can.
How come he's not a podcast sponsor?
And yeah, but we'll give him a plug.
I don't think Voices is big enough yet to be
and again,
sponsor.
Same thing. He's a touring musician. He's got side hustles when he's home, but he's a touring musician. You just removed essentially 24 months of exposure and recording and touring and income from that group, just like everyone else, just like every performer out there. And it's difficult. I know. A couple of my favorite groups and acts tried creative ways to stream performances or provide bonus content for extra money, and I did what I could and threw the money I could at them and enjoyed myself and was really happy to do so. We'll talk about Electric Six, one of these other podcasts, but Ethan's right. It's easy to point at music and arts and say that's the first thing to go. I think it's vastly undervalued and vastly more important to people than I think it's given credit for. And I don't want to envision a society without that component to it. Whether whether it's performances or whether it's music or whether it's artwork, whether it's whether it's someone painting murals downtown, those kind of things. I mean, it's important. And it's on us to do whatever we can to support it.
Yep. Also, Rick and Morty is on season 5. That's another cool thing.
Oh crap! I gotta watch this weekend's episode.
Yeah, so do I. I haven't watched it yet. So, but that's one good thing in pop culture that I give a shit about is Rick and Morty.
Now, Colin, I will say, speaking of pop culture, for a second I was going, why is Colin wearing a Philadelphia Eagles shirt? And then I realized, it's gold. Oh, it's the Eagles.
The band.
I'll show you the back too. See it?
15, 10,
kind of 19.
It looks like
scribbles.
What's it? Yeah. What are the scribbles?
Signatures, maybe.
I'll take a pic and show people later. It's the Las Vegas part of their tour from 2019. Little football jersey.
They toured.
Oh, it's a jersey. Okay, that's why it looks like that.
Yeah.
Was Fry still alive?
Nah, Fry's been dead since 2016.
That's what I thought. So they just toured without him.
Yeah, they had his kid.
No, they toured with Fry Jr.
Yeah,
That's right.
Deacon.
That's right.
Yeah, don't get me started about that. But
you save that for your Eagles podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You're gonna have a podcast for everything. You got to have a Penn State podcast.
Eventually, I'm working toward it.
I was gonna say, now that I say that, I'm like surprised actually that hasn't happened. I hadn't thought of it until right now, but yeah.
One more Happy Valley critique. It got really old. The number of places that are like, we are a donut bakery. Like, okay, like I get it. You say that at your stadium, but come on, we are a sunglasses hut. Like, hooray! Stop it. Like,
that's really funny. So I'll say I just had a similar experience. So last week I was on a little mini vacation. I went up to Maine, and up in Maine, it's not we are, but anywhere you go in Maine, you're going to see like big signs about like the freshest lobster and the best lobster rolls. It's ubiquitous. Everywhere you go, you're going to see something about that. And that's what that made me think of.
I mean, it's not exclusive to Penn State. All those crazy Ohio State nuts I lived with for 10 years. When I'm walking through downtown Amsterdam with friends and you hear them start yelling, OH, like, no, stop it. Like the Dutch don't care about that. Stop it. So I made it my mission anytime anyone yelled OH, I would just yell NO. Like, oh no.
I like that. That's good.
So, I mean, tone it down just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Matt is such a Debbie Downer. My God.
Huge Debbie Downer. But I think this was good, guys. Like, I think this was a good first episode, right? Like,
I think we're the greatest podcasters of all time. I think there's no doubt.
Yeah, we are two jocks in a schlub. And this was our first episode.
Yeah.
Oh man, that hurts, Colin. But if I set that up to you on a tee, I'm glad I did.
That was well done. Yeah, no, that was well done.
No, this was fun. We got some refining to do. I've got some. I gotta hash out that beer segment and hash out that pop culture segment just to
fuck refinement, dude.
A little bit more, but
oh well, yeah, well, that won't be hard.
I mean, just for the listeners, you missed already like 5 or 6 good times where Ethan put his finger up to the camera and was wagging his finger today.
Okay, I didn't even realize.
His conspicuously long pointer finger he would put up and start wagging at the screen. So. The more times he does that, the more successful I think Colin and I are being. So.
Yes. And luckily, if you've listened this far, you can just hop onto YouTube and see the video and look at Ethan's fingers. He's wagging them now.
You can watch how far back I can bend them.
Oh, yeah. Do the thumb thing.
And I can do that.
With woogity.
Look at it from that angle. See how far back my fingers go? Isn't that amazing? I'm very gifted.
You're very something.
I want